Hi, I'm Kristen Borsovsky, and I organized the science fair this year at Parker. This is our first, and we hope to make it an annual science fair. This year we have 25 projects entered, and we have about 32 students that are participating. We have just extraordinary and very creative projects here, varying from high technology to plants, saving chocolate in the world, how to make astronauts safer in their uniforms. We have Recess in You, how recess can help you with studying and doing better. We have projects on blood clots and lungs. We have projects on making cars safer. It's a very exciting year. A lot of planning went into this in a very short amount of time because this is the first year, but we'd like to bring this fair back next year, maybe introduce a competitive component. Considering the level of projects we've seen this year, we'd really like to have that as well. We're excited. We'd like to thank all the students who participated and all of the teachers who have supported this. Our judges, we have the school administration here walking around talking with students, and it's just been really a thrill, I think, for everybody tonight.
Hello, I'm Holden, and my science project is the sound waves of music. So, before we get to all of the cool the experiments and all of that, we have to know how sound is made. Sound is made by when something vibrates, and that vibration causes the medium, and the medium is either like an air, water, or some, etc. And those particles in the water or air will like shake and bounce off each other because of the vibration. And for our first experiment, where'd it go? God. Here we go.
We'll cut that out, don't worry.
Okay. The tuning fork, the sound will be louder when it's pressed up against the solid because the air particles, no, not the air particles, the particles in the solid are more compact, so when they shake, they will bounce off each other and they will be much louder because there's more bouncing off each other. So if I take the tuning fork, you can hear it in the air, but against the solid, it's much louder. And yeah, and then for I have a little violin experiment here. So these two strings are both tuned to the same note, but most people ask me how are they the same note if they're different sized necks? And what happens is this is actually tuned low, tuned looser. So if you feel the string, it's much looser than this one. This one's much tighter, so it would be tighter, so the string won't be as low, so these two are the same. And then for my last thing I have a homemade my musical instrument. So I took a guitar and took all the strings off and just kept one on. So this is a two-person instrument, and basically, as one person drums on here, the other person will move this up and down to change the pitch. So if you move it up high, it will be high. If you move it up down, it will be low.
Let's see if we can do it. Go ahead.
Okay, you ready? So yeah. So that's basically it. And if there are a bunch of other instruments that make their own sound, like trumpet by pressing the keys, changing the tube, so if it's higher or lower. You have the trombone, changing the slides, so yeah, that's how sound waves of music.
So I researched the effects of temperature on a non-Newtonian fluid. What I did was I dropped a marble onto room temperature oobleck, and then I cooled the oobleck and dropped a marble onto it, and I heated the oobleck and dropped a marble onto it, and I recorded my results.
What did you find out?
I found that the only difference was the consistency of the oobleck and how quickly the marble sank.
So this is the effect of behavioral treatment on plant growth. And I got 3 different plants, and one of them I played music for, and another one I did talk to them, and then I ignored one. And the one that I played music to grew the most, of 22 centimeters. And the one I talked to grew 16 centimeters. And the ignored plant didn't grow. So I think the music plant did the best because they could probably feel the vibrations and got the carbon dioxide. And the talking plant, I just talked to and it got my carbon dioxide. And the ignoring plant, yeah, I didn't do anything to. So, and then I did treatments to it. So for 3 weeks, I did it for 5 minutes every day. So that helped it all. And yeah.
Okay, so what's happening here is water has a phenomenon called vapor pressure. So vapor pressure is the pressure of water in the air. All gases have this, like for example nitrogen, just the nitrogen has its own pressure, and just the oxygen will have its own pressure. And so when you heat up water, the vapor pressure it wants to attain becomes higher. So the water evaporates to fill up the pressure and in the air. So as you heat water, the vapor pressure increases, and the more the water evaporates. And water starts boiling as soon as vapor pressure is equal to 1 atmosphere, or the air around it. So at 100 degrees Celsius, the water would boil at the normal pressure. But if you decrease the pressure, like what's going on here, this is actually connected to a vacuum pump. So what the vacuum pump is doing is removing air from the system, so it's low pressure. So the water starts to boil at very low temperatures. It's basically what's going on, and we actually had an idea based on this.
I will explain. So our main idea was that we can use a wet plant, any wet plant, and all the water will evaporate, and it will we'll put some calcium chloride right here, and so it's pretty much road salt, and then it'll turn into salt water, and then that salt water will come here to the reverse osmosis machine, which is pretty much a fancy word for filter. So then that filter will turn the water to pure water. We're expecting, if there were 100 grams of water, we're expecting around 25 to 50 grams of pure water. So we use the solar panels because let's say there was military in the jungle and they needed some type of pure water. They can use this machine to get the pure water instead of getting sick from the dirty lake water from the side.
So how the lungs work is that they inhale and exhale. So where are your lungs? They're very close to your heart. Like an elephant's, picture an elephant's face is your heart, and the elephant's ears are your lungs. Just like your lungs are bigger than the heart. That's why. So these are the lungs. This is the diaphragm. When you pull it down, the lungs expand, and when you pull it up, the lungs contract. So, yeah.
Okay, so I did my project on the light spectrum. Over here we have the electromagnetic spectrum, which sort of shows a chart of radiation. Here we see the radiation with lower energy, and lower energy has long wavelengths. And on the other side, we have shorter things, but with higher energy. Now, how we perceive light is we have this visible light, a small slice in the entire spectrum. But how we see it is it enters our eye, and it has this sort of happy medium sized wavelength, so it can make it through the eye. It has enough energy to stimulate the retina over here, a thin lining on the side of our eye, which kind of you can see tiny rods and cones that actually pass the light to the forward eye, letting us see. Some interesting facts, snakes they have sensors in the pouches of their cheeks which let them detect infrared light. Butterflies can also see ultraviolet light. Now, there's also ultraviolet light, which you can't see on the higher side of the spectrum because it's actually too short. It doesn't even reach the retina because the thin membrane blocks it from even entering the eye. So, thanks, and that's sort of my project.
In this experiment, we're showing how sound will change the glitter into patterns. As you can see here, if Ari plucks a string.
See, so this is a low E. So this is a low E. And this is a high E. So there are differences between them. Now there are small differences between notes which are near each other on the staff. So as you can see, I'm going to do a G major scale. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp.
Ellis, your turn.
Okay, differences between the notes he played is that the different frequencies will create different patterns, as we saw. And these are just some facts. These are facts and some results about sound.
A lot of people think that aliens are not real, but I think they are, because if you think about it, the universe is so big, and there's trillions of planets, stars, galaxies out there, and it would be impossible that we are the only ones in this vast universe. And scientists predict that there are 100 billion Earth-like planets in the universe, in the Milky Way galaxy alone. So in the universe, there's a high chance that other planets can harbor life. Also, in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics, they found this here, and the picture shows airplanes, helicopters, submarines, and other modern technologies. So how is that possible back then? Also, if you think about the Stonehenge, it's in England, and the first monument was built 5,000 years ago. And the heaviest stone weighed 45 tons, and the smallest one about 20 to 25 tons. They moved it 20 miles to where it's located today. And how could they do that 5,000 years ago? So there's also other examples, such as Pumapunku, Klerksdorp spheres, and the Pyramid of Giza. And based on these examples, I believe that aliens are real.
Hi everyone, my name is Anish Carey and I'm an 8th grader. And the project I did was Think Before You Drink. So this basically explains what's bad. All of these are bad for you except for water. So what I did was I emptied out all the bottles and I put the sugar in there to measure how much sugar is in there. And as you can see here, on the back of the bottle too, they have the labels, and this is what you're looking out for, 14 grams. So out of all of them, this had the most, which is pretty surprising. And there are two types of sugars, natural sugars and redefined sugars, right here. So natural sugars are the ones like with fruit juices and water and vitamins. Those are all good. But like the ones with like really sugary stuff, like sugar canes or sugar beets, and glucose, really bad for you. And here they have like a serving size here, and they have the sugars. You should look out for these three: sugar, corn syrup, and high fructose corn syrup. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Arvind Rao, and this is the Wimshurst machine project I've been doing. In the early times, people didn't have an easy way to create electricity, so they rubbed certain materials together.
when you move the hand crank, it rubs these two discs, like right here, if you can see. And these drive pulleys have ropes, and they turn the disc pulleys. And all this power is going to the sectors right here, and from the capacitor, these are the collectors, which collect the charge from the discs. And then this is the spark gap. What's supposed to happen is when you turn it enough, it's supposed to make a spark. However, I'll get to that next time.
So this is what I have. It's like an innovative idea that's for vehicle safety issues, because a lot of drivers are dying due to falling asleep or distracted driving. Alone, just in like the United States alone, over 1 million people die due to these reasons. And over here, I have a little prototype that I made. This is the sensor that I have right over here, and it's like a little mechanics circuit build. And this is the driver's eye, but I couldn't find a real one, so I had to use a flashlight. And when the flashlight's off, that's when like the driver's eyes are like wide awake. But when the driver's eyes close, or when the flashlight turns on, that's when it will start beating. And then the driver has to manually shut the buzzer off, and it will be powered by solar panels, and it will be also connected to the car engine.